I will lower the game to a muting decibel, so then I can explain. Alright. So, what is this control scheme? What do I do? Etc. Penis, all that good stuff. So, I'm gonna use a phone as an example. Okay. So in Battlefield 4, the way the default controls work, all right, is when you press A. Okay. When you press A, the helicopter turns like that. But when you tap A, it does this. It has like a bit of a glide in it. It like glides gently. Just tap A, it glides, and D, it just gently glides itself in Battlefield 4. When you press W, you go up. When you press S, you go down. And then when you move the mouse, it rolls the heli like that. And then when you look up, it rolls the heli like that. This is default Battlefield. This is how default Battlefield works. So what rifle aim is a particular control scheme that swaps the controls around. It puts the keyboard controls on the mouse, and the mouse controls to the keyboard. So if I move the mouse left and right, in this game, it will turn the heli. So if I move my mouse left, it will turn it left. If I move it right, it will turn it right. Up and down is the same. But it only does the rolling on the keyboard now when I press A and D. So, an example. This is me moving my mouse left. This is me moving my mouse right. Up, down. A, D. Now, what I also did was, because with what happens with this control scheme, is you'll feel like you run out of a lot of room to move your mouse to move. So I have control also set to turn, and space set to turn right. So if I have to do a sharp turn, instead of dragging my mouse across my mouse pad like that, all I have to do is just hold control and look like that. Alright? Another thing to keep in mind is when you're using this control scheme, you have to match the speed of the heli with your turning. So what I mean by that is, if I put my mouse on one side of the mouse pad and move it to the other side as fast as possible, this is how much the heli is going to move. Okay? That's it. That's from one side of the pad as fast as possible. But if I do it at the correct speed that the heli can turn, I can pretty much do almost a full 360. So you have to keep in mind that you have to match the same speed as the heli itself. 2 more tips. Tip number 1, when flying the heli and you're aiming the miniguns, always focus on aiming one of the particular beams. So, if I'm aiming at an infantry player, where the fuck are they? Here. Left beam. Okay, right beam. Right beam. That. Now, the further away you go, say like this distance, still look at one of the beams, but the odds are that both of them are going to connect. And when they do, you'll emit almost double the damage. But still focus on one of the beams. Okay? Still pay attention to just one of the beams. So, that's how I aim. Alright? Another thing to keep in mind is I try not to fight the scout heli momentum, so I steady the heli a lot, like I am now. And because your movement is tied to your aim, even in the default control scheme, the speed that you fly at will affect your aim. If you fly too fast, it's going to be harder for you to aim because you have to... Because the speed of the heli, its momentum, is like pushing your aim forward, if that makes any sense. So if I'm flying really quick, like at this speed, aiming is not going to be as simple because it has to carry its speed back. While if I'm at this speed, I can have pretty quick turning speed. I can swap targets quickly. I'm faster like this, and it doesn't really affect me at all. So you have to take into account your speed as well. It matters what speed you're flying at in the heli. I set it to non-inverted. You can keep it inverted if you like, or you can turn it non-inverted, so it copies the exact movement, or you can have it inverted. So with this control scheme, I can basically stay perfectly on target on a heli, because it's the mouse, and the mouse is more precise than the keyboard. In Battlefield 4, you could be just as precise on the keyboard because there was glide. In this game, there's no glide at all. So when you tap A in this game with default controls, it does it like this. It's like a jerky movement. While in Battlefield 4, it's like a gentle glide. So, in this game, it's less efficient than using rifle aim, this control scheme. Although, if you want to practice it, you will struggle a while. I recommend versing AI like I am. and keep reminding yourself you have to aim with your mouse, you have to aim with your mouse, it takes a lot to get used to. It took me about 3 days, practicing AI for about 2 hours a day to get used to it. So the way my controls look are like this. So I play 22 vehicle sense with 100 aircraft sense. Aircraft control sensitivity impacts the sensitivity of your actual movements the heli makes. I find that when I put this at the max, it makes my mouse more responsive. The lower will make it less responsive, but it will make the rolling more precise. It's hard to explain. It's like a weird mix of both. But I just have this at 100, and 22 felt comfortable for me for the vehicle aim sensitivity. The way the controls look is I have fire unbound, okay? And this is what they look like. So, your right, I clicked on the mouse, drag the mouse right, and it automatically sets it for mouse right and left. And then I just have space and left control for those sharp turns I talked about. And then roll D and A. That's my setup. That's what I use. Okay, so that's basically it. If anyone has any questions about my control scheme or what I'm using, ask away. I'm happy to give any information.